Alright, so earlier on in this chapter we used the fact that lines were parallel to prove that angles were congruent. Now we're going to go backwards. We're going to do the converse, that if angles are congruent or angles are supplementary, then we could say that lines are parallel. Alright, so we've got 4 examples for this, and let's take a look at it. So find the value of x to make L parallel to M. Alright, which means find x so that these angles, because they're in the top right corner and the top right corner, meaning corresponding, find x so that the angles are congruent. If I know that the angles are congruent, then the lines are parallel. So, since they're corresponding, we want to set them equal to each other. I'm going to add 5x to both sides, and I get 4 equals 12x plus 100. I'm going to subtract 100 from both sides, and I get negative 96 equals 12x. Divide by 12, x is negative 8. Alright, now because it's a negative number, it kind of worries me. I want to make sure that it's going to give me a positive result for my angle. It's okay to have a negative x, but you can't have a negative angle. So if I take 4 minus 5 times negative 8, and plug it in, I get 4. I'm going to distribute the negative 5, so I actually get 4 plus 40. So each angle is 44 degrees. If you do this one also, you do get 44. So they end up being congruent, which means because they're congruent, the lines are parallel. Alright, let's go ahead and start writing this proof. Draw the picture, write it out too. Angle 2 and 3 are supplementary, and that's given to us. And I need to prove that AB is parallel to CD. Well, so angle 2 and angle 3 are on the transversal, BD, they're right here, and they're next to those two lines. They're same side interior angles. And since the same side interior angles are supplementary, we can say right now that AB is parallel to CD. Because last time we did if parallel, but I don't know parallel yet. I'm proving parallel. So if same side interior angles are supplementary, then parallel. You have to write them in order. Step 1 is your if, step 2 is your then. And we're done. These are going to be 2-step proofs today. For the most part, this one's going to be an extra step. So we know angle 1 is congruent to angle 4, and we know angle 4 is congruent to angle 3. My final goal is to prove that the two lines are parallel. So 1's congruent to 4. And we also know separately 4 is congruent to 3. Now, 1 is congruent to 4, 4 is congruent to 3. That's following a chain. That's transitive property. That's something that we looked at earlier. Since these match right here, let me circle them. Since those match, I'm going to write the other two. I'm going to write angle 1 congruent to angle 3 because of transitive property. Now that I know 1 and 3 are congruent, take a look at them. They're in the top right corner and the top right corner. Angles 1 and 3 are corresponding angles. So if corresponding angles are congruent, which they are, then we know that we have parallel lines. Then parallel. Well, that's what I was looking to prove. So AB is parallel to CD. Let's try this last one. We know angle 2 is congruent to angle 1. We know angle 1 is congruent to angle 3. And hopefully already you recognize that this is very similar to the previous example because we have those right there. So take a minute, try finishing these last two steps, pause it, and then we'll check the answer. Alright, so since angle 2 is congruent to 1, 1 is congruent to 3, we can say angle 2 is congruent to angle 3 because of transitive property again. Since those are congruent, we're trying to prove that this line here and this line here are parallel. I want to look at just this line. If you could focus only on the ones in red, not the two on the left and the right, 2 and 3 cross the transversal, but they're in between the parallel lines. Since they're in between these two, oops, missed a line. Since they're in between them, that makes them alternate interior angles. If alt interior angles are congruent, then we have parallel lines. Okay, so take a minute, look over these. If you go step by step, the ultimate goal is, can I find a pair of alternate interior, alternate exterior, or corresponding angles that are congruent? Or could I find a pair of same side interior or same side exterior angles that are supplementary? If the answer is yes, then you can say that they're parallel lines.